Um, Let us begin. Let me open up with prayer. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be ever pleasing to you, O God, my rock and my redeemer. Amen. Are you all familiar with the story or song, "We're Going on a Bear Hunt"? Anybody familiar? Okay. Well, it begins with a group of kids leaving the house and going in search of a bear. Excellent. So I'm always confused, though, about how and where exactly this story takes place, because in this story or this song, however you go about doing it, there's long grass, there's water, there's mud, there's forest, there's snow, there's also a cave, and logically, they're all very close in proximity, and I just don't know where exactly that is. That aside, whenever a new situation is approached, those that are on this walk to find this bear, they think through how they might handle a problem. Well, can we go over it? Well, no, that's ridiculous. You can't actually go over a forest. Well, can you go, can you go under the mud? Well, no, that's also very silly. You can't actually go under mud. Well, then, we have to go through it. Imagine hand motions and acting out the different scenarios. Swishy, swashy, splash, splosh, stumble, trip, squelch, squirch, hoo, hoo. We all make it through the long, wavy grass, the river, the mud, the forest, the snowstorm, until we finally make it to the cave. In our reading from Isaiah, the passage begins with, "But now." These words signify a change in pace from where Isaiah has been and where Isaiah is leading. The people of God have been in exile. They've been separated from God. But now, Isaiah illustrates that there is a change. God is with them. God does not abandon them, but creates, makes, sustains, delivers. In our silly metaphor of a bear hunt, God does not go above or under our problems. God goes with us through each situation. Last week, we talked about the waters of creation. We spoke about how God created the world and how God called the waters into being. We spoke of the many instances of water in the Bible. And we talked about how water is used to baptize. Last week, we even claimed one of our very own as God's beloved with the waters of baptism. Today, we will talk about the water as renewal, how water cleanses and makes old things new. There are many ways in which we are incomplete. We feel old, used, broken. We could create quite a list that makes us feel this way, this splintered and fragmented feeling. Fear, death, politics. Can y'all think of anything that makes us feel incomplete? What can you think of? What might come to mind? Okay, all right, yeah, so grief is something that makes us feel incomplete. Depression, anxiety. Any others? Say that again. Exhaustion. Anything?
Hopelessness.
Say that again.
Hopelessness.
Sadness.
Confusion.
Failure. Yeah.
I was thinking all that input from social media and commercials.
Input from social media and commercials, absolutely. We can come up with quite a list for things that make us feel splintered and fragmented. As humans, brokenness is something that's part of our daily reality. It seeps into our understanding of who we are. And what Isaiah reminds us is that we endure hardships in all of its varied states, but we are not alone. We are accompanied through the pain. In preparation for ordination, one of the things as a Presbyterian I had to do was I had to complete a unit of clinical pastoral education. Y'all can be down with the lingo. It's also known as CPE. So I did my CPE in a hospital in Jacksonville, Florida, and my badge read chaplain intern. One of the things that you do in CPE is you have conversations with those that you are doing CPE with about what's going on when you go in and out of patients' rooms. Well, one day, our conversation centered on hope. And one of our leaders worked in the oncology unit. So in talking about hope for those that are terminal, I felt completely overwhelmed with the disparaging circumstances. So I asked, where do you find hope in the work that you do? And she said something that I will never forget. She said that she believes that God will reconcile all pain and suffering. Death is not the end. God redeems the pain. After hearing her words, I had a new understanding for how God uses people. God is with us through the fear of death. God is with us through the divorce. God is with us through the isolating loneliness. God is with us. In September, my husband and I gave birth to our son, Jude. I had a very healthy pregnancy, and my due date came and went. But because I had waited too long past my due date with my first child, I decided to go ahead and induce with Jude. Well, the morning went very well. It was a surreal experience showing up to the hospital to deliver a baby. I had occasional contractions, but all in all, I was probably about an 8.5 out of 10 in preparation for what was going to be a very, very long day. Well, they started the medicine, and within a short period of time, the contractions followed. But there was no reason to feel anxious. Everything was going how it was supposed to. In fact, Cal got hungry, and so he went and he grabbed some food. We had been there for a long time. But while he was away, a nurse came and checked on me and the baby. Just a cautionary checking the vitals. But then she said in a very non-alarming way, which then alarmed me, that the baby was having variable heartbeats, which is usually a sign that the baby is coming soon. Well, the word variable heartbeats continued to play in my head over and over and over again. And when I looked up, the nurses had multiplied. There were now 3 nurses in the room, and there was still no Cal. The table was being prepped, gowns and gloves were being put on. Well, no Cal. Then he walks in. The relief that I felt by having my husband there with me supplied me with the calmness that I needed to get through the feat that was at hand. But it was as though the uncertainty that I was experiencing, my anxiety, was then transferred to Cal. All of that anxiousness, Cal felt like a wave crashing over him. He had to put his calzone down. I put that in there, yeah. He had to put his calzone down, and within 10 minutes, our baby boy arrived. What Cal experienced, though, was very different from my experience, both biologically and emotionally. My time concluded with seeing our perfect baby boy being lifted up by the doctor, and Jude taking his first breath. What Cal saw before the lift up was a baby that was blue in the face. The umbilical cord was wrapped around Jude's neck not once, but twice. The fear that Cal describes in that moment of Jude's coming into existence was a loss of words. Shocked into this reality that our baby might be in serious, serious trouble. But what our doctor did, and what felt like eternity to Cal, was calmly and strategically unwrap the baby's neck from the cord. She did it in one circular motion, and just like that was able to calm the fear that had burrowed down so deep in the pit of Cal's stomach. The doctor lifted up our boy, and Jude had his first cry. Isaiah does not tell us that there is nothing to fear. He proclaims, do not fear, but there's a difference there. There are tremendous amounts of things that are worthy of being afraid of. Things that are too, fear is all around us. Fear quickly roots into our broken, fragmented lives and keeps us from feeling whole. If you can go with me back on this bear hunt, when you make it into the cave and we feel that wet nose, the furry ears, and the two goggly eyes, we are overcome and run all the way back to the house and hide under the covers because of this fear. What Isaiah does is connects the reader by specifically identifying instances where fear is real. He does this by using illustrations of water and fire. He changes the narrative from allowing that fear to consume and instead comforts us with how God goes with us through these specific things. But now, the water will not overwhelm you. The fire will not consume you. God uses people to be with us through the tough stuff. Cal's fear was calmed through the quick response of the doctor. My fear was relieved through the presence of my husband. Those in the oncology unit had someone to talk with in the midst of their very real and uncertain treatments. When it comes to working on ourselves, our fear, and our brokenness, I appreciate the wisdom offered gracefully by Parker Palmer. He says, until we enter boldly into the fears we most want to avoid, those fears will dominate our lives. It is in doing inner work, though it is a deeply personal matter, it is not necessarily a private matter. Inner work can be helped along in community. Indeed, doing inner work together is a vital counterpoint to doing it alone. It is in seeing the role of God through the people that surround you that you begin to recognize that God has gone with you through the pain. God is with you in the midst of pain. God is with you. I'd like to conclude our time with a moment of reflection. This is where the coffee filters on your table will be used. In this time, I want you to allow yourself to explore the things that are keeping yourself from feeling whole. What stands out? Is it the overwhelming feeling of insecurity or self-worth? Is it your finances? Is it a secret that you've been sitting with for far too long? Meditate on a word that identifies one of the ways that's keeping you from feeling complete. Now, when you have this word or this image, I encourage you to write it down on your coffee filter. Use one of the markers at your table. And when it's time to come forward for communion, bring your coffee filter with you. We've got 3 baptismal fonts up here at the front of the room. Place your coffee filter in the water. Let the renewing waters wash over what it is that's keeping you from feeling whole. Allow God to go with you through, remembering that you will not be overcome. You will not be consumed. We are all in this journey together and support each other in the work we have before us. As we come to the font, allow yourself to experience how God is at work in your life, as well as the lives around us. Let us now take a moment and reflect.